I was grilling burgers in my backyard when my phone rang. The doctor's voice was shaking. "Mr. Tristan, your son is in the ER. Both legs, they're shattered. Someone did this to him." My spatula hit the concrete. 16 years old. My boy was 16. He'd left an hour ago to grab milk from the corner store. Now some doctor I'd never met was telling me my son might never walk right again. I didn't ask questions. I just ran. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. The hospital smelled like bleach and fear. I pushed through the ER doors, and my wife Eliza was already there, collapsed in a plastic chair, mascara streaking down her face. She looked up at me, and I saw something I hadn't seen in 20 years of marriage. Pure terror. "Tristan, they broke him," she whispered. A nurse led us down a hallway that felt like it stretched for miles. Every step, my chest tightened. I'd seen horrors overseas. I'd commanded operations in places most people couldn't point to on a map. I'd watched good men die in my arms. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what I saw when they opened that curtain. My son, Oliver, lay on a gurney, his face gray with shock. Both his legs were twisted at angles that made my stomach turn. His jeans were cut away, revealing swelling so severe the skin looked ready to split. Tubes ran from his arms. Monitors beeped. And his eyes found mine, and he started crying. "Dad, Dad, I didn't do anything wrong." I gripped his hand, careful not to jostle him. "I know, son. I know." A doctor in blue scrubs approached, holding X-rays up to the light. "Mr. Tristan, I'm Dr. Mason. Your son has multiple compound fractures in both tibias and his left femur. Whoever did this, it wasn't an accident. This was deliberate force. Repeated strikes." My jaw locked. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying someone beat your son's legs with something heavy. Probably a baton. We're looking at months of recovery, multiple surgeries, and extensive physical therapy. He may walk again, but there will likely be permanent damage." Eliza made a sound like a wounded animal. Oliver's voice cracked. "It was a cop, Dad. A cop did this to me." The room went silent except for the machines. "What?" I leaned closer. I was walking back from the store. This police car pulled up. The officer said I matched a description of someone who robbed a gas station. I told him I just bought milk. I showed him the receipt. He told me to put my hands on the hood. I did everything he said. Oliver's breath hitched, tears rolling down his temples. Then he laughed and said, "I'm having a bad day, kid. Let's see how yours goes." He pulled out his baton and started hitting my legs. Over and over. I fell, and he kept going. He was smiling, Dad. He was smiling the whole time. My vision tunneled. Every instinct I'd buried for 15 years roared back to life. I'd retired from Black Ops to give my family peace. To be a normal dad. To leave that world behind. But that world had skills. Skills I still remembered. Did anyone see this? I asked, my voice deadly calm. There were people across the street, but when they pulled out their phones, the cop yelled at them. He said he'd arrest anyone who interfered. Then he called an ambulance and left. Just left. Dr. Mason cleared his throat. "Mr. Tristan, we've already filed a report with hospital security. This will be forwarded to the police department's Internal Affairs Division." Internal Affairs. I'd heard those words before. I knew how that story ended. A nurse came in with paperwork. "We need consent forms for surgery. We're taking him up in 20 minutes. Eliza signed with trembling hands. Oliver was crying quietly now, staring at the ceiling. I kissed his forehead. "You're going to be okay. I promise you." But as they wheeled him away, I knew that promise meant something different now. 3 hours later, Oliver was out of surgery. 2 metal rods. 17 screws. A recovery timeline measured in months, not weeks. The surgeon said he did everything he could, but only time would tell if Oliver would regain full mobility. Eliza and I sat in the surgical waiting room, empty coffee cups between us. She hadn't spoken in an hour. Finally, she turned to me. "What do we do, Tristan?" "We file a report. We get a lawyer. We do this the right way." She nodded, but her eyes said she didn't believe it would matter. That night, I stayed at the hospital while Eliza went home to grab clothes. Oliver was asleep, sedated and quiet. I sat in the dark, watching his chest rise and fall, and pulled out my phone. I opened a browser and typed, "Officer assaults civilian. How to file complaint." Pages of legal jargon. Procedures. Internal reviews. Investigations that took months. Outcomes that rarely led to consequences. Then I typed something else. Dominic Graves, police officer. The first hit was a local news article from 2 years ago. Officer Dominic Graves had been investigated for use of excessive force during a traffic stop. No charges filed. Case closed due to insufficient evidence. I kept scrolling. Another article. Another complaint. Another closed case. This man had a pattern, and the system had protected him every single time. I looked at my son, broken, bandaged, and barely 16, and felt something cold settle in my chest. It wasn't rage. Rage was messy. This was clarity. I'd spent 15 years in the shadows, dismantling threats most people never knew existed. I'd built cases, gathered intelligence, and executed operations with surgical precision. I could do it again. But this time, it was personal. I texted a number I hadn't used in 3 years. Just 2 words. Need intel. The response came 30 seconds later. On it. Oliver stirred in his sleep, whimpering. I moved to his side, resting my hand on his shoulder. "I've got you, son," I whispered. "No matter what it takes." Outside, the city lights blinked in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Officer Dominic Graves was finishing his shift, going home, probably laughing about his day. He had no idea what was coming. The morning after surgery, I stood in the fluorescent-lit lobby of the police department's Internal Affairs Division. The receptionist barely looked up from her computer screen when I explained why I was there. She handed me a form on a clipboard and pointed to a row of plastic chairs. "Fill this out. Someone will call you." I filled out the form. Every detail, every word Oliver had said. The time, the location, the officer's badge number that was printed on the hospital report. I wrote until my hand cramped. 2 hours passed. Families came and went. A man argued about a parking ticket. A woman cried about a stolen car. Nobody called my name. Finally, a detective in a wrinkled suit emerged from a back hallway. "Tristan Fletcher?" I stood. "That's me." He didn't shake my hand. "Detective Quinn, come with me." His office was small and cluttered, files stacked on every surface. He gestured to a chair that wobbled when I sat down. He read my report without expression, occasionally making a non-committal sound in his throat. "Mr. Fletcher, these are serious allegations against Officer Graves." "They're not allegations. They're facts. My son has 17 screws in his legs because of what that man did." Quinn leaned back, his chair creaking. "I understand you're upset, but we have to follow procedure. Officer Graves will be interviewed. We'll review any available evidence. If there were witnesses, there were witnesses. My son said people saw it happen. Did your son get their names?" "Contact information. He was being beaten with a baton." He wasn't exactly taking notes. Quinn's expression didn't change. Without corroborating witnesses or video evidence, this becomes a he said situation. Officer Graves has been with the department for 8 years. Exemplary record. Multiple commendations. I felt my jaw tighten. He's also been investigated 3 times for excessive force. Quinn blinked. "Where did you hear that?" "Public record. News articles. All dismissed for insufficient evidence." "Mr. Fletcher, I can't discuss other investigations. What I can tell you is that this complaint will be taken seriously. We'll conduct a thorough review and contact you with our findings within 30 days. 30 days. My son was in a hospital bed with shattered legs, and this man was offering me 30 days. What happens to Graves in the meantime? He remains on active duty pending the outcome of the investigation." I stood up. "So he keeps his gun and his badge while you decide if breaking a teenager's legs counts as misconduct." Quinn stood too, his face hardening. "Mr. Fletcher, I understand your frustration, but undermining the process won't help your son. Let us do our job." I left without another word. That afternoon, Eliza met me at a law office downtown. The attorney, a woman named Paige Caldwell, had good reviews and specialized in police misconduct cases. Her office had soft lighting and leather chairs, the kind of place that charged by the minute. She listened to our story, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen and folded her hands. I'm going to be honest with you both. Cases like this are extremely difficult to win. Police officers have qualified immunity, which protects them from civil lawsuits unless you can prove they violated clearly established constitutional rights. And even then, you're going up against the city's legal team, the police union, and years of precedent that favors law enforcement. Eliza's voice was small, but he heard our son. Deliberately. There has to be something we can do. There is. We can file a federal civil rights lawsuit under Section 1983. But you need to understand, this will take years, cost tens of thousands of dollars, and the outcome is uncertain. Most of these cases settle out of court for far less than the damages justify, and settlements usually come with non-disclosure agreements, meaning you can't talk about what happened. I leaned forward. What about criminal charges? That would be up to the district attorney's office. But DAs rely on police cooperation for every case they prosecute. They rarely charge officers unless the evidence is overwhelming and public pressure is undeniable. Eliza looked at me, her eyes rimmed red. Tristan, maybe we should just focus on Oliver getting better. Maybe this fight isn't worth it. But I could hear the defeat in her voice. She didn't believe we'd win. She was already grieving the injustice. Paige Caldwell gave us her card. Think about it. If you decide to move forward, call me. But prepare yourselves. The system protects its own. We drove home in silence. Eliza stared out the window, her hands twisted in her lap. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally spoke. I keep thinking about what Oliver said. That the cop was smiling. What kind of person does that? Someone who knows he can get away with it. She turned to me, her face pale. What if he comes after us? What if we file this lawsuit and he retaliates? Then I'll handle it. Tristan, you're not that person anymore. You left that life. I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I'd never really left. I just locked it away. That evening, I returned to the hospital. Oliver was awake, staring at the TV without really watching. His dinner tray sat untouched. Hey, buddy, you need to eat. He didn't look at me. I don't want to. I pulled a chair close. Talk to me. What's the point, Dad? That cop is going to get away with it. You know he will. Everyone knows it. We filed a complaint. We talked to a lawyer. And what did they say? That it'll take years? That we probably won't win. His voice cracked. I can't even walk to the bathroom by myself. I can't play basketball. I can't do anything. And he's just out there, doing whatever he wants. I had no answer that wouldn't sound like a lie. Oliver wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Sometimes I wish you were the kind of dad who could just fix things. You know? Like in movies. Something twisted in my chest. Oliver, but you're not. You're just a normal guy. And normal guys can't fight cops. He turned away from me, facing the wall. I sat there for a long time, listening to the monitor's beep, watching my son disappear into himself. When I finally left, the hallway felt longer than before. At home, Eliza was in the kitchen, cleaning things that were already clean. I recognized the behavior, grief disguised as productivity. He's shutting down, I said. She nodded, scrubbing the same counter for the third time. I know. My phone buzzed. A text from the number I'd contacted the night before. Graves lives at 2847 Maple Street. Drives a black Dodge Charger. Drinks at Murphy's Bar most weeknights. More coming. I deleted the message. Eliza looked up. Who was that? Work. You haven't worked in 3 years, Tristan. Our eyes met. She knew. She didn't know the details, but she knew I was planning something. Promise me you won't do anything stupid, she said quietly. I promise I'll protect our family. That's not what I asked. I kissed her forehead and went to the garage. In the back corner, behind boxes of Christmas decorations and old sports equipment, was a locked metal case. I hadn't opened it in 15 years. Inside were things from my old life, tools of a trade I'd sworn I'd never use again. But as I stared at that case, I realized something. The system had already failed us. Internal Affairs would close the case. The DA wouldn't file charges. The lawsuit would drag on until we were bankrupt and broken. Officer Dominic Graves would walk free. Unless someone stopped him the way I used to stop threats, quietly, methodically, and permanently outside the law. No, not permanently. Not like that. But justice? Real justice? That was something I could deliver. I pulled out my phone and made another call to a number I'd buried in my memory. It rang twice. A voice I hadn't heard in years answered. Blake here. It's Tristan. I need your help. A pause. Then, tell me everything. Blake arrived 2 days later. I watched from my living room window as a silver Jeep pulled into my driveway. He stepped out, older now, gray threading through his dark hair, but he still moved like a man who expected danger around every corner. We shook hands on the porch. His grip was firm, familiar. 15 years, he said. You look soft. Retirement'll do that. He glanced at the house, the trimmed hedges, the basketball hoop in the driveway. Nice life you built here. Had a nice life. His expression shifted. Your boy. Come inside. Eliza was at the hospital with Oliver. I'd made sure of that. What I needed to discuss with Blake wasn't for her ears. We sat at the kitchen table. I poured coffee and slid a folder across to him. Everything I'd compiled on Officer Dominic Graves. Articles, complaint records, his address, his routines. Blake flipped through it slowly, his face unreadable. You always were thorough. Old habits. He looked up. You planning what I think you're planning? I'm planning justice. Real justice. Not the kind that takes 3 years and ends with a handshake settlement. Blake closed the folder. Tristan, we're not those guys anymore. We have lives now. Families. You pull me back into that world, there's no clean exit. My son is 16 years old, Blake. He can't walk. He can't sleep without nightmares. And the man who did it is out there right now, drinking beer and laughing about it. The system won't touch him. So what? You want it. I want to build a case so airtight that he has nowhere to hide. I want to expose him and everyone protecting him. I want them in prison, not in a grave. But I can't do it alone. Blake was quiet for a long moment. Then he tapped the folder. This cop, Graves. He's not working solo. Guys like him never are. There's a network. Other cops, maybe someone higher up. You take him down, the whole thing needs to come down, or they'll just close ranks and bury you. I know. You're talking surveillance, wiretaps, evidence gathering. This isn't a weekend project. This is months of work. Maybe a year. I've got time. Blake studied me, his eyes sharp. No, you don't. You've got a son in a hospital bed who needs his father. You've got a wife who's barely holding it together. You pull this off wrong, you lose them. You sure you're ready for that risk? I met his gaze. I'm sure I can't live with myself if I do nothing. He sighed and pulled out his phone. All right, I'm in. But we do this smart. No cowboy shit. We gather evidence, find the weak links, and hand it to someone who can actually prosecute. Agreed. Agreed. Good. Now tell me everything. I told him about the attack, about Oliver's injuries, the hospital, the useless internal affairs meeting, the lawyer who basically said we had no shot. Blake listened without interrupting, the way he used to during mission briefings. When I finished, he leaned back. You know what you're asking me to walk into, right? If we get caught running surveillance on cops, we're not just facing obstruction charges. We're facing felonies. Our old credentials won't save us. I know. And if Graves finds out you're digging into him, he could come after your family harder. That's why we stay invisible. Blake nodded slowly. All right. First thing, we need to know who Graves is connected to. Who's covering for him? I'll start running background checks, financial records, see if there's any money moving that shouldn't be. You handle the ground surveillance. Watch him, learn his patterns, but keep your distance. No confrontations. Understood. He stood. One more thing. Your wife, does she know what you used to do? She knows I was military. Special operations. That's it. She's going to figure out there's more. When she does, you better have an answer ready. He was right. Eliza already suspected something. The locked case in the garage. The phone calls I wouldn't explain. The look in my eyes she'd never seen before. Blake headed for the door, then paused. Tristan, I need to say this. The man you used to be, that guy operated in war zones, outside the law, with government backing. That man doesn't exist anymore. We're civilians now. We screw this up, there's no extraction team. No diplomatic immunity. We're on our own. I know. Do you? Because I remember how you got when a mission went personal. You went dark. You stopped thinking and started reacting. That's how good men get killed. His words hung in the air between us. This is different, I said quietly. This is my son. That's exactly what worries me. After Blake left, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the folder. He was right to be worried. Because the truth was, I could feel that old version of myself waking up. The one who didn't hesitate. The one who saw problems and eliminated them. I'd spent 15 years in a world most people didn't know existed. Black operations. Covert missions. The kind of work that didn't make the news because it never officially happened. I joined the Army at 18, made it through Ranger selection, then got recruited into something deeper. A unit that didn't have a name. We operated in shadows, dismantling threats before they became headlines. Terrorists, traffickers, warlords, people who thought they were untouchable. We made them wrong. I was good at it. Too good. My commanding officer used to say I had a gift for reading people, for finding their weaknesses and exploiting them. I could build a target profile from fragments of intelligence, predict behavior, anticipate moves 3 steps ahead. But that gift came with a cost. You can't spend that much time in the dark without bringing some of it home with you. I met Eliza during a rare leave. She was a nurse, kind and steady, everything I wasn't. She made me feel human again. When she got pregnant with Oliver, I knew I had to choose, the mission or my family. I chose my family. I walked away, took an early retirement, and buried that part of myself so deep I almost believed it was gone. But it wasn't gone. It was just waiting. That night at the hospital, Oliver was awake, staring at his phone. His face was tight with pain. The doctors had reduced his medication, trying to get ahead of potential dependency. It meant he felt everything now. How's the pain? I asked. Bad. I pulled up a chair. Physical therapy starts next week. It's going to be rough, but you're strong. You'll get through it. He set his phone down. Dad, can I ask you something? Yeah. What did you really do in the Army? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? You never talk about it. Mom says you were special operations, but she doesn't know details. You've got no pictures, no stories, nothing. It's like that part of your life doesn't exist. I chose my words carefully. Some things aren't meant to be talked about. Why not? Because they're classified. Because they're over. Because I wanted to leave that world behind and be here with you. Oliver looked at me for a long moment. Were you good at it? Whatever it was. Yeah, I was good at it. Then why can't you use those skills now? To get the guy who did this to me? My throat tightened. It's not that simple. Why not? You know how to fight. How to find people. You could make him pay. Oliver, there are rules. Laws. I can't just... He broke my legs, Dad. His voice cracked. He smiled while he did it. And nothing's going to happen to him. Everyone knows it. So why can't you do something? I had no answer. At least, not one I could say out loud. Because the truth was, I could do something. I was already doing it. But if I told him that, I'd be admitting I was willing to step outside the law. That I was willing to risk everything. My freedom, my family, my future, for revenge disguised as justice. And maybe that made me no better than Graves. Or maybe it made me a father who refused to let his son's abuser walk free. I didn't know anymore. Blake called me at midnight 3 days later. I was in the garage, going through old equipment, surveillance gear, encrypted phones, tools I hadn't touched in over a decade. Got something, he said. Graves isn't just dirty. He's running a protection racket. Small businesses on the east side. I've identified at least 4 shop owners paying him monthly. My pulse quickened. You have proof. Working on it. But there's more. He's got 3 other cops in his pocket. Officers Hunt, Preston, and Caldwell. They rotate coverage for him, falsify reports, intimidate witnesses. It's organized. Who's above them? Still digging. But someone's protecting this crew. Internal Affairs has buried 6 complaints in 2 years. That doesn't happen without approval from higher up. I need names. You'll get them. But Tristan, listen, I pulled Graves' financials. He's got a second mortgage, gambling debts, and his wife filed for divorce last year. He's unstable, desperate. That makes him dangerous. Noted. One more thing. Tomorrow night, he collects from a bodega owner named Adrian Reeves, corner of 5th and Brennan. If we can get that on camera, I'll be there. Blake paused. Stay invisible. No contact. Just observe and record. I know how to run surveillance. I'm serious, Tristan. You get made, this whole thing falls apart. After we hung up, I tested the camera equipment. Small, high definition, motion activated. Perfect for what I needed. Eliza appeared in the garage doorway, wrapped in a robe. It's 1 in the morning. Couldn't sleep. She looked at the equipment spread across my workbench. What is all this? Old stuff. Just organizing. Don't lie to me. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were afraid. You're planning something. I can see it. I set down the camera. I'm trying to protect our son. By doing what? Playing detective? Tristan, you're not a cop. You're not a lawyer. Whatever you think you can do, I can do more than wait for a system that doesn't work. And if you get caught, if you get arrested, then what? Oliver loses his father too. The words hit hard because she was right. But so was I. Eliza, that man broke our son's legs and smiled about it. He's still out there, still wearing a badge. If I do nothing, Oliver will spend the rest of his life knowing his father was too afraid to fight back. Her face crumpled. I'm not asking you to do nothing. I'm asking you not to throw your life away on revenge. It's not revenge. It's evidence. I'm going to document what he's doing, find people he's hurt, and build a case. Then I'm handing it to someone who can use it. And if it doesn't work? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. She wiped her eyes. Just promise me you'll be careful. I promise. She left without another word. The next night, I parked 3 blocks from the bodega. The street was dim, half the streetlights burned out. I wore dark clothes, a baseball cap pulled low, and carried the camera in a backpack. I found a position behind a dumpster across from the store, good sightline, deep shadows. I set up the camera on a small tripod, angled toward the bodega's entrance, and waited. 40 minutes passed. A police cruiser rolled down the street and stopped in front of the store. Officer Dominic Graves stepped out. Even from a distance, I recognized him from the photo in his personnel file. Tall, thick build, the kind of swagger that comes from never being challenged. He walked into the bodega like he owned it. Through the store window, I saw him approach the counter. An older man, Adrian Reeves, stood behind it, his posture rigid. Graves said something, and Adrian reached under the counter, pulling out an envelope. He handed it over. Graves opened it, counted the cash, then pocketed it. He leaned across the counter, his face inches from Adrian's, and said something that made the older man flinch. My camera captured everything. Graves left, got back in his cruiser, and drove off. I stayed in position for another 10 minutes, making sure he was gone, then packed up my gear. But I didn't leave. Not yet. I crossed the street and entered the bodega. Adrian looked up from restocking cigarettes, and his face went pale. We're closed. I'm not here to buy anything. I kept my voice calm. I just watched you give Officer Graves money. I recorded it. Adrian's hands shook. I don't know what you're talking about. Get out. My name is Tristan Fletcher. 2 weeks ago, Officer Graves attacked my 16-year-old son, broke both his legs with a baton. For no reason. Adrian's expression shifted, fear mixed with recognition. I'm not a cop, I continued. I'm not internal affairs. I'm a father trying to stop a man who's hurt a lot of people, including you. He set down the cigarettes. You don't understand. If I talk, he'll destroy me. He's already threatened my business license, my family. I'm not asking you to testify. Not yet. I just need to know I'm not alone. That there are others. Adrian stared at me for a long moment. Then, quietly, there are others. At least 6 of us on this street alone. He started coming around 8 months ago. Said we needed protection. Anyone who refused got inspections, fines, arrests for code violations that didn't exist. One guy fought back. His store burned down 2 weeks later. My jaw tightened. You think Graves was involved? I know he was. He told me himself. Said accidents happen to people who don't cooperate. Will you help me stop him? Adrian looked terrified. How? Keep paying him. But record it. Every time. Get it on your security camera, if you can. If I can gather enough evidence, I'll take it to someone outside the department. Federal authorities. And if they don't believe you, they will. Because I'm not stopping until they do. Adrian hesitated, then nodded slowly. My daughter's in college. She's the first person in our family to go. If anything happens to me, nothing will happen to you. I'll make sure of it. I didn't know if that was true, but I said it anyway. I drove home with the camera footage on an encrypted drive. It wasn't enough yet. One payment, one store owner. Any lawyer could argue it was isolated, misunderstood. I needed more. Patterns. Multiple victims. A paper trail. At home, Eliza was asleep. Oliver's room was dark. I went to the garage and uploaded the footage to a secure server Blake had set up. Then I opened a notebook and started writing names. Victims, witnesses, every piece of the puzzle I needed to fit together. Officer Dominic Graves had spent years building his corruption. I'd spend however long it took to tear it down. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a ghost. I watched Graves collect payments from 3 more businesses. I documented everything: times, locations, amounts. Blake ran background checks on the other officers in Graves' crew and found a pattern of complaints, all dismissed. But we needed more than surveillance footage. We needed someone willing to speak on record. Adrian called me on a Tuesday afternoon. There's someone you should meet. Another shop owner. He's been dealing with Graves longer than anyone. He might talk. Set it up. We met in a parking garage downtown, away from security cameras. The man's name was Victor Chun. He owned a small electronics repair shop and looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Adrian says you're building a case against Graves, Victor said, his arms crossed. I am. Why should I trust you? Because I'm the only one trying to stop him. Victor studied me, then pulled out his phone. He showed me photos, bruises on his ribs, a black eye, a split lip. This is what happens when you're late on a payment. He did this in my own shop. Locked the door first so nobody could see. My stomach turned. When, 3 months ago, I reported it. Internal Affairs said there was no evidence. They implied I was lying. Will you testify to that? Testify where? To who? The cops won't touch him. The DA won't listen. I filed a lawsuit last year. My lawyer dropped the case after someone slashed his tires and broke his office windows. I felt the familiar cold anger settling in. What if I told you I have video evidence of Graves collecting payments? Multiple locations. And I'm building a file that includes financial records, witness statements, and documentation of every complaint filed against him. Victor's expression shifted. You do that? I already am. But I need help. I need people willing to go on record. Not now. Not until I have enough to guarantee protection. But eventually. He looked at the concrete floor, thinking, if I do this and it doesn't work, my family pays the price. I understand. That's why I'm not asking you to decide today. I'm asking you to think about it. And if you're willing, start documenting everything. Dates, amounts, conversations. Keep copies somewhere safe. Victor nodded slowly. My wife wants us to move. Leave the city. Start over somewhere Graves can't find us. That's your choice. But if you leave, he just finds someone else to hurt. And if I stay, he might kill me. I couldn't argue with that. Because it was possible. Victor pocketed his phone. I'll think about it. But I need to know something first. Why are you doing this? Adrian told me about your son, but there are easier ways to handle this. Why risk everything? Because if I don't, what kind of man am I? He held my gaze for a moment, then walked away. That night, I met Blake at a diner on the edge of town. He slid a folder across the table. Financial records for Graves and his crew. Hunt, Preston, and Caldwell are all depositing cash into their accounts every month. Amounts vary, but it's consistent. They're not even trying to hide it. Because they don't think anyone's looking. Exactly. But here's the problem. Cash deposits aren't illegal. They'll just claim it's gifts from family, side jobs, whatever. We need something that directly ties them to extortion. I opened the folder, scanning the numbers. What about phone records? Working on it. But we'll need a warrant for that, which means we need someone in law enforcement willing to pursue this. What about the FBI? Blake leaned back. Maybe. If we can show a pattern of civil rights violations, racketeering, corruption under color of law. But we need more than what we have. We need a victim willing to testify and recordings of Graves explicitly demanding money. I can get that. How? Adrian's bodega has a security camera behind the counter. Next time Graves comes in, I'll make sure it's recording audio. Blake shook his head. That's risky. If Graves finds out, he won't. Adrian's motivated. His daughter's future depends on this. Blake sighed. All right, but you need to prepare for what comes next. Once we go to the feds, this gets real. They'll open an investigation, start surveillance, maybe even flip one of Graves' crew. And when that happens, Graves will know someone's coming for him. Good. Let him know. Tristan, I'm serious. Cornered men do stupid things. Violent things. Your family is exposed. I'd already thought about that. Every night I lay awake, imagining worst-case scenarios. Graves showing up at our house, following Eliza, threatening Oliver. I'm keeping them safe, I said. How? By finishing this fast. The next day, I visited Oliver during his physical therapy session. He was in the hospital gym, attempting to walk between parallel bars. Every step was agony. Sweat poured down his face, and his hands gripped the bars so tight his knuckles were white. The therapist, a woman named Morgan, encouraged him gently. 3 more steps, Oliver. You can do it. He took 1 step, then another. On the third, his leg buckled, and he almost fell. Morgan caught him. I can't, he gasped. You can. Rest for a minute, then we'll try again. I walked over. Oliver looked at me, his face red with frustration and pain. I saw you take those steps, I said. That's progress. It doesn't feel like progress. It feels like torture. I know, but you're stronger than you think. He wiped his face with a towel. Dad, did you find anything? About the cop. I glanced at Morgan, who was adjusting equipment across the room. I'm working on it. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you right now. Oliver's jaw tightened. I just want him to pay for what he did. I don't care how. I just want him to hurt the way I'm hurting. His words hung in the air. Because I understood them. I felt them. But I couldn't say that. Justice takes time, I said instead. Justice. He laughed bitterly. You really think that exists? I have to. He looked at me for a long moment, then turned back to the parallel bars. 1 more round, he told Morgan. I watched him struggle through another set of steps, his whole body shaking with effort. And I made a silent promise. Graves would pay, not just for Oliver's legs, but for every person he'd hurt, every threat he'd made, every life he'd destroyed with his badge and his cruelty. I'd make sure of it. That evening, I returned to Adrian's bodega. I brought a small audio recording device, the kind used in covert operations, undetectable unless you knew what to look for. Hide this behind the counter, I told Adrian. Angle it toward where Graves usually stands. It's voice activated. When he comes in, let him talk. Ask questions if you can. Get him to say why he's there, what the money's for. Adrian held the device like it might explode. And if he finds it, he won't. It's smaller than a thumb drive and looks like a phone charger. And after? What happens with the recording? I take it to the FBI, along with everything else I've gathered. And then Graves goes down. Adrian nodded, his hands still shaking. My daughter called yesterday. She's on the dean's list. I haven't told her about any of this. She thinks everything's fine. It will be. Soon. I didn't know if I believed that. But Adrian needed to. He tucked the device into his pocket. When this is over, I'm getting out of this business. Moving somewhere quiet. You've earned it. As I left the bodega, my phone buzzed. A text from Blake. We have a problem. Call me. I dialed immediately. He answered on the first ring. Graves knows someone's asking questions. One of his crew spotted surveillance equipment near Murphy's bar. They're paranoid now, watching for tails. My chest tightened. How bad? Bad enough that we need to pull back for a few days. Let them settle down. We don't have a few days. Adrian's recording Graves tomorrow night. Blake was quiet. Then, if Graves is on alert and catches Adrian with that device, it's over. For all of us. Then we make sure he doesn't catch him. Blake arrived at my house before dawn. We sat in my garage with the door closed, speaking in low voices. If Graves is spooked, he'll be careful, Blake said. That means tomorrow night's collection could be a setup. He might send someone else. He might skip it entirely. Or worse, he might test Adrian. Test him how? Ask questions. Search the place. Graves isn't stupid. If he suspects someone's cooperating, he'll confirm it before making a move. I thought about Adrian, his shaking hands, the fear in his eyes. Adrian won't hold up under pressure. He's terrified. Then we need a backup plan. I'll be nearby tomorrow night. If things go sideways, I'll create a distraction. Give Adrian an out. What kind of distraction? The kind that doesn't get us arrested. Blake pulled out a tablet, showing me a map of the area around the bodega. There's an alley here. I'll park out of sight. If Graves starts searching the store or gets aggressive, I'll trigger a car alarm down the block. Creates confusion, draws attention. Gives Adrian a reason to act nervous without it being suspicious. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. All right, I said. What about the other victims? Victor, the others Adrian mentioned? I've made contact with 2 more. Both willing to talk off the record, but neither will testify yet. They're scared. And honestly, I don't blame them. We need someone who will. Blake, close the tablet. Or we need evidence so strong it doesn't matter. Recordings, financial transactions, multiple incidents documented. If we can build a federal racketeering case, individual testimony becomes supporting material, not the foundation. How long will that take? Months. Maybe longer. I felt frustration boiling up. Oliver doesn't have months. Every day he's in that hospital. Graves is out there collecting money and hurting people. I know, but rushing this gets us caught. And if we're caught, Graves walks. He was right. I hated it, but he was right. That afternoon, Eliza confronted me in the kitchen. She'd been quiet for days, watching me come and go at odd hours, seeing the exhaustion on my face. I talked to Paige Caldwell, she said. The lawyer. I looked up from my laptop. Why? Because I wanted to know if there's been any progress on Oliver's case. She said she hasn't heard from us in 2 weeks. She thought we'd decided not to move forward. We've been focused on Oliver's recovery. Don't lie to me, Tristan. Her voice cracked. I know you're doing something. I just don't know what. And that terrifies me. I closed the laptop. I'm gathering evidence. Building a case that actually has a chance. By yourself? Without a lawyer? Without the police? The police are the problem, Eliza. So what? You're just going to what? Play vigilante? Investigate a corrupt cop on your own. I'm not alone. And I'm not breaking any laws. Yet. She sat down across from me. Tristan, I see what this is doing to you. You're not sleeping. You barely eat. You disappear for hours without explanation. This isn't just about justice anymore. This is consuming you. Because our son was attacked, and nobody cares. I care. Her voice rose. I care more than anything. But I also care about keeping this family together. And if you keep going down this path, I'm afraid of what happens to you. To us. I reached for her hand. I'm trying to protect us. By risking everything. She pulled away. What happens when this is over, Tristan? Let's say you succeed. You expose Graves, he goes to prison. Then what? Do you just go back to being a normal dad? Or does this change you into someone I don't recognize? I had no answer. Because I didn't know. She stood up. I'm taking Oliver home tomorrow. The doctors cleared him for outpatient therapy. I need you to promise me that when he's here, you'll be here too. Really here. Not half present while your mind is somewhere else. I promise. But even as I said it, I knew it was a promise I might not be able to keep. The next night, I parked 4 blocks from Adrian's bodega. Blake was positioned in the alley, watching the street. The recording device was in place. Everything was ready. My phone buzzed. A text from Blake. Graves just pulled up. 2 cars. He brought backup. My pulse quickened. I watched through binoculars as Graves and another officer, Preston, based on the photos Blake had shown me, entered the bodega. Through the window, I saw Adrian behind the counter. His posture was stiff, nervous. Graves said something, and Adrian nodded, reaching for the envelope. But Graves didn't take it. Instead, he walked behind the counter into Adrian's space. Preston moved to block the door. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a collection. This was an interrogation. I texted Blake. He's searching. Blake, hold position. I'll move if needed. Inside, Graves was opening drawers, checking under the register. Adrian stood frozen. Graves said something, and Adrian shook his head. Graves leaned closer, his face inches from Adrian's. Then Graves started searching the walls, running his hands along the shelves. He was looking for surveillance equipment. My phone buzzed again. Blake, car alarm in 3, 2, 1. A shrill alarm pierced the night. Graves stopped, turning toward the sound. Preston stepped outside to check it. Graves said something to Adrian, then followed Preston out. They stood on the sidewalk, looking at the car with the blaring alarm. A few people emerged from nearby buildings, annoyed. After a moment, Graves shook his head and walked back to his cruiser. They drove off. I exhaled, realizing I'd been holding my breath. Blake texted, "That was close. Device still in place?" I waited 10 minutes, then crossed the street. Adrian was sitting on a stool behind the counter, his face pale. "Did he find it?" I asked. Adrian shook his head. "He got close. He searched everywhere. But when that alarm went off, he stopped." "Did you get anything on the recording?" "I don't know. He didn't take the money. Just threatened me. Said he knows someone's been asking questions, and if it's me, my shop will burn." I felt cold fury settle in my chest. "Let me see the device." Adrian handed it over. I checked the file, 3 minutes of audio. Graves' voice was clear. "You tell anyone about our arrangement, and I'll make sure you lose everything. Your shop, your license, your daughter's college fund. Accidents happen, Adrian. Remember that." It wasn't a direct confession of extortion, but combined with the previous recordings, it was a pattern, a threat, evidence. "You did good," I told Adrian. "This helps." "Helps with what?" "He's going to come back. He knows something's wrong." Then we moved faster. At home, I sent the recording to Blake. He called immediately. "This changes things. Graves is escalating. If he thinks someone's building a case, he'll either run or eliminate the threat." Meaning Adrian. Meaning anyone he thinks is talking. "You need to warn Victor and the others." I spent the next hour making calls. Victor answered on the 3rd ring. I told him what happened. "I knew this was a mistake," he said. "I'm closing my shop tomorrow, taking my family and leaving. Victor, if you run, I don't care. My wife was right. This isn't worth dying over." He hung up. 2 other shop owners said the same thing. They were done. They wanted out. I sat in my garage, staring at the files spread across my workbench. Weeks of work, dozens of hours, and I was losing witnesses faster than I could build the case. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello." A voice I didn't recognize. "Mr. Fletcher. My name is Officer Kyle Morrison. I work with Dominic Graves, and I need to talk to you. Tonight." I met Officer Kyle Morrison in an empty parking lot near the industrial district. It was past midnight. Blake was positioned 2 blocks away, watching through long-range optics. If this was a setup, I'd have 30 seconds warning before things went bad. Kyle arrived alone, driving an unmarked sedan. He was younger than I expected, mid-30s, clean-cut, the kind of cop who still looked like he believed in the job. He got out slowly, hands visible. "Mr. Fletcher?" "That's me." He glanced around nervously. I'm taking a huge risk being here. Why are you here? Cal pulled out his phone, showing me photos, documents, reports. For 3 years, I've been documenting everything Graves and his crew do. Every shakedown, every threat, every falsified report. I've got dates, amounts, victims. All of it. My heart pounded. Why haven't you come forward? Because 2 years ago, I tried. I went to internal affairs with evidence. They told me they'd investigate. A week later, my car was firebombed. My wife found a dead rat nailed to our front door. The message was clear. Shut up, or worse happens. Who threatened you? I don't know for sure. But the investigation I filed disappeared. No record it ever existed. That only happens with approval from high up. How high? Kyle's jaw tightened. Deputy Chief Harper. He's been covering for Graves since the beginning. He gets a cut of everything. Protection money, seized evidence that disappears, payoffs from criminals Graves lets walk. It's a whole system. This was bigger than I'd realized. Not just 4 corrupt cops, but department leadership actively protecting them. What changed? I asked. Why contact me now? Because Graves knows someone's investigating. And he's panicking. Yesterday, he told our crew that if he goes down, he's taking everyone with him. He's got files on all of us. Insurance, he calls it. But I never took money. I never hurt anyone. I've been trying to stay clean while gathering evidence. Evidence you're willing to share? If you can guarantee protection. Real protection. Not internal affairs, not local police. Federal. Witness protection if necessary. I have contacts in the FBI. But I need to know your evidence is solid. Kyle handed me a flash drive. Everything's on here. Bank records showing deposits from Graves to Harper. Recorded conversations. Photos of evidence tampering. And something else, something you need to know about your son. My blood went cold. What about my son? The attack wasn't random. Graves didn't just snap. He was ordered to send a message. Ordered by who? Deputy Chief Harper. Your son was walking past a pawn shop that's part of their network. The owner thought he saw Oliver taking pictures on his phone. He called Graves in a panic, said some kid was documenting the place. Graves was told to handle it. He used excessive force because that's what he always does. But the attack itself? That was deliberate. Rage burned through me. They targeted my son because of a misunderstanding? I'm sorry. Oliver wasn't taking pictures. He was just texting. But by the time they realized the mistake, it was too late. Graves had already broken his legs. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. My son's life had been shattered over nothing. A paranoid phone call and a corrupt cop looking for an excuse to hurt someone. Kyle continued. That's when I knew I had to act. What happened to Oliver? It could happen to anyone. These men have no limits. No conscience. I forced myself to focus. This evidence, it's enough for federal charges? Racketeering, civil rights violations, evidence tampering, witness intimidation. If the FBI moves fast, they can freeze assets, flip witnesses, and dismantle the whole operation. But it has to happen now. Graves is already destroying files and moving money offshore. I'll contact the FBI tomorrow. No. Kyle's voice was urgent. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Graves is planning something. I don't know what, but he's gathering the crew. He's scared, and scared men do terrible things. My phone buzzed. A text from Blake. Something's wrong. Multiple police vehicles moving toward your neighborhood. My stomach dropped. How many vehicles? I showed Kyle the text. His face went white. He's going after your family. I broke every speed limit getting home. Blake was already there, parked down the street. The house was dark, but I saw shadows moving near the garage. I pulled out my phone, dialing Eliza. It rang 4 times before she answered, her voice groggy. Tristan? What time? Lock the bedroom door. Right now? Don't ask questions, just do it. What? Why? Now, Eliza. I heard movement through the phone, then a door closing. A lock clicking. Tristan, you're scaring me. Stay there. Keep Oliver with you. Don't open the door for anyone except me. I killed the headlights and coasted to a stop half a block away. Blake appeared beside my window. 3 unmarked cars, he said. For officers. They're watching the house, but haven't approached yet. Graves, don't see him. But that's Preston, Hunt, and Caldwell. His crew. Kyle pulled up behind us. This is what I was afraid of. They're planning something. Planting evidence. Making it look like you're dangerous. Gives them an excuse to raid your house. Destroy your files. Maybe worse. Not happening. Blake grabbed my arm. Think. You go in there aggressive. You play right into their hands. They claim self-defense, shoot you, and bury everything you've built. So what do? Let them threaten my family. No. You call someone who outranks them. Kyle pulled out his phone. I know an FBI agent. Special Agent Natalie Ramos. She's clean, and she's been trying to build a case against Harper for months. If I call her right now, tell her there's an active threat against a witness. Do it. Kyle dialed. The conversation was brief, urgent. When he hung up, he nodded. She's 10 minutes out. She's bringing a team, but we need to stall until she gets here. I looked at the officers surrounding my house. I'll stall. Before Blake could stop me, I got out of the car and walked toward my driveway. The officers saw me immediately. Preston stepped forward, his hand on his weapon. Mr. Fletcher, interesting time for a walk. It's my house. I can come home whenever I want. We received a report of suspicious activity at this address. We're conducting a welfare check. My family's fine. I just spoke to my wife. Preston smirked. Then you won't mind if we take a look inside. Make sure everything's secure. You have a warrant? Don't need one for a welfare check. Actually, you do? Unless you have probable cause, you're trespassing. Hunt stepped forward. Careful, Fletcher. You don't want to obstruct an investigation. What investigation? You got a call about suspicious activity and decided to surround my house with 4 officers? That's not a welfare check. That's intimidation. Preston's expression darkened. You've been asking questions about Officer Graves. Making accusations. Harassing witnesses. That stops now. I haven't harassed anyone. I've been documenting crimes. Big difference. You're interfering with police business. I'm exercising my rights. And you're violating them. Headlights appeared at the end of the street. Multiple vehicles, moving fast. Federal vehicles. Preston saw them, and his face went pale. 4 black SUVs pulled up, and agents in FBI windbreakers stepped out. A woman in her 40s approached, Special Agent Natalie Ramos. Officers, step away from the residence. This is now a federal matter. Preston hesitated. On what grounds? On the grounds that you're part of an ongoing investigation into corruption, racketeering, and civil rights violations. And if you don't step back right now, I'll add obstruction to that list. The officers exchanged glances. Then, slowly, they backed toward their vehicles. Natalie turned to me. Mr. Fletcher, Officer Morrison contacted me. He says you have evidence related to our investigation. I do. And so does he. She nodded. We'll need statements from both of you. Tonight. Kyle stepped forward, handing her the flash drive. Everything you need is on here. Financial records, recorded conversations, documentation of evidence tampering, and names, everyone involved, including Deputy Chief Harper. Natalie's eyes widened slightly. Harper. He's been running the operation. Graves and his crew are just the muscle. She looked at her team. Bring them in for questioning. All of them. As the FBI agents moved to intercept Preston and the others, Natalie turned back to me. Mr. Fletcher, your family is safe now. But I need you to understand. This is going to get worse before it gets better. These men have resources, connections. They'll fight back. Let them. I'm not backing down. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Good. Because I'm going to need your help to finish this. The FBI took over my kitchen table. Laptops, recording equipment, file boxes stacked against the walls. Special Agent Natalie Ramos worked with methodical precision, reviewing every piece of evidence Kyle and I had gathered. Eliza stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching federal agents move through our home. Oliver sat on the couch in his wheelchair, eyes wide. This is really happening, Eliza whispered. Yeah, it is. Natalie called me over. Mr. Fletcher, the evidence you've gathered is extensive, but we need to move carefully. Graves and his crew are still active, and Deputy Chief Harper has access to department resources. Until we have warrants signed and assets frozen, they can destroy evidence and disappear. How long until warrants? 48 hours if the judge cooperates. But we have a problem. Graves knows we're closing in. Officer Morrison's disappearance will alert them. They'll assume he flipped. Kyle sat across from us, exhausted. They'll come after me. After my family. We're placing you in protective custody immediately, Natalie said. Your wife and kids are being moved to a safe location as we speak. Kyle nodded, but his hands were shaking. What about my family? I asked. For now, you're safe. FBI presence here tonight sent a message. But I'm assigning 2 agents to monitor your house for the next 48 hours. After that, we'll reassess based on how Graves responds. Eliza spoke from the doorway. Responds how? What's he going to do? Natalie turned to her. Mrs. Fletcher, corrupt officers facing federal charges become unpredictable. Some run. Some lawyer up and cooperate. Others fight back. We're preparing for all scenarios. You're saying he might come after us again. I'm saying we won't let him get close. But I saw the look in Eliza's eyes. She didn't believe it. Neither did I. The next morning, Blake arrived with news. Graves didn't show up for his shift. Neither did Preston or Hunt. Their houses are empty, vehicles gone. They ran, I said. Maybe. Or they're regrouping. Blake pulled up a map on his tablet. Harper's still at the station, acting like nothing's wrong. He's smart. He knows running makes him look guilty. But his bank accounts show wire transfers to offshore accounts last night. He's moving money. Natalie joined us. We're monitoring Harper's communications. If he contacts Graves, we'll know. But until the warrants are signed, we can't make arrests. So what do? We wait. And we keep your family safe. Waiting felt impossible. Every hour that passed was another hour for Graves to plan, to retaliate, to hurt someone else. Oliver called from the living room. Dad, come here. I found him staring at his phone, his face pale. Someone sent me this. He showed me a text from an unknown number. Tell your father to back off, or you'll wish I'd broken more than your legs. My vision tunneled. When did you get this? Just now. I showed Natalie. Her expression hardened. That's witness intimidation. Federal offense. Let me trace the number. Within minutes, she had an answer. Burner phone. But it pinged off a tower 3 miles from here. Graves is still in the city. He's threatening my son. I know. Which means he's desperate. She made a call. I'm escalating the warrant request. We'll have authorization to arrest within 12 hours. 12 hours. Half a day for Graves to make another move. I pulled Blake aside. We can't just sit here. What are you suggesting? We know where Harper works. He's the key. If we can get him on record admitting involvement, the whole case collapses around Graves. The FBI is already monitoring him. Monitoring isn't enough. He's too careful. But if someone got close, someone he doesn't know is part of this. Blake's eyes narrowed. You want to wire someone up and send them in. I want to finish this before Graves hurts my family. Who would you send? Kyle's in protective custody. Adrian and the others are too scared. And you're a target. Harper would see you coming. He was right. I needed someone Harper wouldn't suspect. Someone with access. Then it hit me. Paige Caldwell. Our lawyer. Blake frowned. The one who told you the case was hopeless? She knows the system. Knows how cops think. And Harper doesn't know she's connected to us beyond an initial consultation. What makes you think she'd agree? Because she became a civil rights attorney for a reason. Let me talk to her. Paige Caldwell met me at a coffee shop downtown. She looked skeptical when I explained what I needed. You want me to wear a wire and confront a deputy chief about corruption? Mr. Fletcher, that's not just risky. That's career suicide if it goes wrong. It won't go wrong. The FBI is backing this. They'll have agents nearby, listening to everything. And if Harper admits even a fraction of what we suspect, it's over. And if he doesn't? If he calls security and has me arrested for harassment? Then you leave. No harm done. She stirred her coffee, thinking. I've heard rumors about Harper for years. Complaints that disappeared, cases that got buried. I always wondered who was protecting him. Now you know, and now you can stop him. She looked at me for a long moment. Your son, Oliver. How's he doing? Learning to walk again. Slowly. And the man who hurt him is still out there. Not for long. Paige set down her cup. All right, I'll do it. But I want immunity for anything I might say on that recording. I'm not risking my law license. Deal. That afternoon, Natalie fitted Paige with a recording device, small, undetectable, sewn into her blazer lining. The plan was simple. Paige would visit Harper under the pretense of filing a complaint against Graves on Oliver's behalf. She'd push him, asking why previous complaints had been dismissed. If Harper got defensive, she'd imply she had evidence of corruption. The goal was to make him talk. Don't push too hard, Natalie instructed. If he feels cornered, he'll shut down. Let him think he's in control. Paige nodded, but I saw the nerves in her eyes. We waited in an FBI surveillance van 2 blocks from the police station. Agents monitored the audio feed. Blake sat beside me, tense. Paige's voice came through clearly. Deputy Chief Harper? I'm Attorney Paige Caldwell. I'd like to discuss a complaint filed against Officer Dominic Graves. Harper's voice was smooth, practiced. Of course. Have a seat. Thank you. My client's son was assaulted by Officer Graves 2 months ago. Both legs broken. The internal affairs investigation was closed without action. I'm trying to understand why. I'm not at liberty to discuss closed investigations. You'd need to file a public records request. I did. The file is heavily redacted. Almost nothing's visible. That's standard procedure for personnel matters. Is it also standard procedure to dismiss 3 prior excessive force complaints against the same officer? A pause. Then Harper's voice, colder now. Miss Caldwell, what exactly are you implying? I'm implying that someone is protecting Officer Graves. And I'm wondering why. You're treading on dangerous ground, counselor. Am I? Because from where I sit, it looks like a pattern. Complaints filed, investigations opened, and then nothing. Every single time. That doesn't happen by accident. Another pause. Perhaps those complaints lacked merit. Or perhaps someone ensured they lacked merit. Harper's chair scraped. This conversation is over. Leave my office. Not until you explain why a violent officer remains on the street while his victims suffer. I said leave. Or I'll have you removed. Paige's voice stayed calm. I'm also representing 3 business owners who claim Officer Graves has been extorting them. And I have financial records that suggest he's not working alone. Silence. Then Harper's voice, barely controlled. You're making serious accusations without evidence. I have evidence. Recordings. Bank statements. Witness testimony. And I'm filing federal charges tomorrow unless you'd like to discuss a resolution. Get out. Now. Footsteps. A door slamming. Natalie swore. He didn't bite. He's too disciplined. But then Harper's voice came through again, muffled. He was on the phone. Graves, it's me. We have a problem. Some lawyer has evidence. I don't know how much, but she's filing federal charges tomorrow. We need to move. Tonight. Graves' voice, distorted but audible. I'm done running. If they come for me, I'm taking everyone down. You included. Don't be stupid. I'm already stupid. I should have left the kid alone. Now his father's building a case and the feds are involved. This is on you, Harper. You said the complaints would disappear. They did disappear. Not enough. Now fix this, or I will. The line went dead. Natalie looked at her team. That's conspiracy to obstruct justice. We have enough. Get the judge on the phone now. I want those warrants signed in the next hour. Within 2 hours, the warrants were signed. Federal agents mobilized across the city. Teams dispatched to Graves' last known location, Harper's home, and the houses of Preston, Hunt, and Caldwell. Natalie coordinated from the command center they'd set up in my living room. We have authorizations for arrest, asset seizure, and electronic surveillance. Harper's phones are now tapped. If Graves contacts him again, we'll have his location. Blake monitored the tactical channels. Team 1 is at Harper's residence. He's inside, hasn't moved since the phone call. I stood by the window, watching the street. 2 FBI agents were stationed outside, but it didn't ease the knot in my stomach. Graves was still out there, desperate and dangerous. Oliver wheeled himself into the room. "Dad, what's happening?" "The FBI is making arrests. This is almost over." "Almost. They still need to find Graves." His jaw tightened. "Good. I hope they throw him in a cell and forget about him." Eliza appeared behind him, her hand on his shoulder. "Tristan, when this is done, when they arrest everyone, what happens to us?" "We go back to normal." "There is no normal anymore. Our son was attacked. Federal agents are in our kitchen. You've been investigating corrupt cops for weeks. Normal doesn't exist." She was right. Even after the arrests, even after the trials, we'd carry this with us. The fear, the anger, the knowledge that the system we trusted had failed us. Natalie's phone rang. She listened, her expression shifting. "Understood. Move in." She looked at us. "Harper just tried to leave his house with 2 suitcases. Agents stopped him. He's in custody. A small victory, but not the one I needed." "What about Graves?" "Still searching. His vehicle was spotted near the county line an hour ago, but we lost him. Highway Patrol is watching all exits." Blake pulled me aside. "Graves knows he's finished. Men like him don't surrender peacefully. He'll either run or go down fighting. Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance to fight." "How?" I thought about everything I knew about Graves. His patterns, his habits, the places Kyle had mentioned. Murphy's Bar. "Blake, you said Graves drinks there most nights. It's his safe space. FBI already checked it. He's not there. Not now? But if he thinks he's cornered, he might go back. One last drink before running." Natalie overheard. "We have agents monitoring the location. If he shows, we'll know." "I want to be there." "Absolutely not. You're a civilian and a victim. If Graves sees you, it could escalate the situation. He's already escalated. He threatened my son this morning. Which is exactly why you need to stay here. Let us do our job." I wanted to argue, but Blake's hand on my shoulder stopped me. "She's right, Tristan. You've done your part. Let them finish it." An hour passed. Then another. Updates came in fragments. Graves' credit cards hadn't been used. His known associates claimed they hadn't seen him. Surveillance footage from the county line showed his vehicle heading north. Clear. Clear. We took 2 SUVs. Natalie, Blake, myself, and 4 federal agents. Murphy's Bar was a dive on the south side, the kind of place where nobody asked questions. Graves' Charger was parked out front. Natalie coordinated with her team via radio. "All exits covered. Negotiator is standing by. We go in calm. We offer surrender, and we extract him without incident." "And if he doesn't surrender?" Blake asked. "Then we adapt." 2 agents entered through the front. Natalie monitored via body cameras. The bar was nearly empty. 3 patrons at the counter, the bartender wiping glasses, and Graves sitting alone in a booth, staring at a half-empty whiskey glass. The lead agent approached. "Dominic Graves, you're under arrest for civil rights violations, witness intimidation, extortion, and conspiracy. Put your hands on the table." Graves didn't move. He just laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "It's over, Graves. Don't make this harder." "Harder?" Graves looked up, his eyes bloodshot. "You think this is hard? I've been doing Harper's dirty work for 8 years. 8 years of threats, beatings, shakedowns. And for what? A few $1,000s and the promise he'd protect me. Now he's in custody, and I'm the fall guy. You can cooperate. Make a deal. But you need to come with us now." Graves stood slowly. For a moment, I thought he'd comply. Then his hand moved toward his waistband. "Gun," the agent shouted. Everything slowed. Agents drew weapons. Graves pulled a pistol, but he didn't aim it at them. He aimed it at his own head. "I'm not going to prison," he said quietly. Natalie's voice crackled over the radio. "Stand down. Get the negotiator in there now." A woman's voice, calm and steady, came through speakers. "Dominic, my name is Agent Quinn. I want to help you, but I need you to put the gun down." "There's no help. There's no deal. I broke a kid's legs because Harper told me to. Because some pawn shop owner got paranoid. That kid's life is ruined, and I can't take it back. You can't take it back, but you can make it right. Testify against Harper. Help us dismantle the system that put you in this position. Graves' hand shook. I'm already dead. Either I shoot myself or I spend 20 years in prison. Either way, my life is over. Your life isn't over. You have a choice. You can end it here, or you can face what you've done and try to make amends. Amends? How do I make amends to that kid? To his family? From the SUV, I spoke into the radio. Let me talk to him. Natalie turned. Absolutely not. He needs to hear from me. From Oliver's father. Please. She hesitated, then handed me a headset. 30 seconds. That's all you get. I keyed the mic. Graves, this is Tristan Fletcher. Oliver's father. Silence. You broke my son's legs. You smiled while you did it. And I've spent weeks wanting to make you pay. Then you got your wish. No. I wanted justice. Real justice. I wanted you in a courtroom, facing the people you hurt. I wanted the world to see what you are. If you pull that trigger, you rob everyone, including yourself, of that. Graves lowered the gun slightly. His voice came through the radio, broken. What difference does it make? Courtroom, bullet. Either way, I'm done. The difference is my son gets to see you answer for what you did. He gets to heal knowing you didn't escape. That matters. A long silence. Then Graves set the gun on the table and put his hands up. Agents moved in immediately, cuffing him and leading him out. As they passed the SUV, Graves looked directly at me through the window. No defiance. No anger. Just exhaustion. Natalie exhaled. It's over. We got him. But I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. 2 days later, the arrests made headlines. Deputy Chief Harper, Officers Preston, Hunt, and Caldwell, all in federal custody. The evidence Kyle and I had gathered was airtight. Financial records, recordings, witness statements. But the biggest break came from Graves himself. Facing life in prison, he agreed to cooperate. He gave prosecutors everything: names, dates, amounts, the entire structure of Harper's operation. The district attorney announced charges: racketeering, civil rights violations, extortion, evidence tampering, conspiracy. Trials were scheduled for the following year. Victor Chin called me that evening. I saw the news. They really arrested Harper. They did. My wife and I are staying. We're not running anymore. And if they need me to testify, I will. Thank you, Victor. Adrian called next. My daughter saw the arrests on TV. She asked what happened. I told her the truth, that bad people were stopped because good people stood up. She's proud of me. I haven't felt that in years. One by one, the victims found their voices. The following week, Oliver had a breakthrough in physical therapy. He walked 15 steps without support. Morgan, his therapist, actually cheered. That's incredible progress, she said. Oliver looked at me, tears in his eyes. I did it, Dad. You did. I'm proud of you. That night, Eliza and I sat on the porch. The FBI had cleared out. The agents were gone. Our house was ours again. I'm still angry, she said quietly. At Graves, at Harper, at the whole system. Me too. But I'm also grateful. For Kyle. For the FBI. For you. You could have walked away. Let the lawyers handle it. But you didn't. I couldn't. She took my hand. I know. And that scares me. Because part of you loved it. The investigation, the strategy, the mission. I saw it in your eyes. That version of you I never knew. That version is retired. Is it? Or did you just remember he exists? I didn't have an answer. 3 weeks later, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a familiar voice spoke. Mr. Fletcher, this is Officer Morrison. Kyle? I wanted to thank you. My family's safe. I've got a new job with a different department. And because of what we did, they're reforming internal affairs across the state. You did the hard part, Kyle. You had evidence for years. But I didn't have the courage to use it. You gave me that. And now other cops are coming forward. Graves wasn't the only bad one. There are more cases, more victims. But they're being heard now. That's good. How's Oliver? Walking. Slowly. But walking. Tell him I'm sorry. For not stopping Graves sooner. You stopped him when it mattered. After we hung up, I found Oliver in his room, doing leg exercises. That was Kyle, the cop who helped us. He says other victims are coming forward. Oliver paused. Because of what we did. Yeah, he thought about that. Dad, can I ask you something? Anything. When Graves had that gun, when you talked to him, were you scared? Terrified. But you still spoke. Why? Because somebody had to. And sometimes that somebody is just whoever's willing to step up. Oliver nodded slowly. I want to be like that. When I'm older. Someone who steps up. You already are, buddy. Every day you fight through therapy, every step you take, that's stepping up. 6 months later, the trials began. I sat in the courtroom gallery with Eliza and Oliver. Blake was there. Kyle testified from behind a screen, his identity protected. Adrian, Victor, and 4 other business owners took the stand. Each told their story. The jury listened. When it was Oliver's turn, he wheeled to the witness stand and described what Graves had done. His voice shook, but he didn't cry. He looked Graves in the eye and told the truth. Graves looked away. The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all counts. Harper got 23 years. Graves got 18. Preston, Hunt, and Caldwell received sentences ranging from 8 to 12 years. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I didn't speak to them. I just took Oliver's hand and walked away. Justice had been served. Not perfectly, not completely, but it had been served. 1 year later, Oliver stood without his wheelchair. Physical therapy had been brutal, months of pain, setbacks, moments when he wanted to quit. But he didn't. He pushed through every exercise, every agonizing step. Now, on a warm Saturday morning, he stood in our driveway, holding a basketball. You sure about this? I asked. He bounced the ball once, twice, then took a careful step forward and shot. The ball arced through the air and swished through the net. He turned to me, grinning. I'm sure. Eliza watched from the porch, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of sadness, tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope reclaimed. Blake pulled up in his Jeep, joining us. Nice shot, kid. Oliver retrieved the ball. Want to play? Always. As they shot hoops, Eliza joined me. He's really doing it. He's really okay. He's more than okay. He's strong. Because of you. Because you didn't give up. I shook my head. Because of him. I just cleared the path. That afternoon, we visited the community center where Oliver now volunteered. After his recovery, he'd started speaking to other young people who'd been victims of violence, sharing his story, offering hope. A teenager in a wheelchair listened as Oliver talked. I thought my life was over when it happened. I thought I'd never walk again, never play sports, never feel normal. But I was wrong. It's not about going back to who you were. It's about becoming someone stronger. The kid nodded, wiping his eyes. After the session, Oliver and I walked to the car. Dad, do you ever think about Graves? About what he's doing in prison? Sometimes. Do you hate him? I thought carefully. I did. For a long time. But hate takes energy I'd rather spend on you, on our family, on healing. He's paying for what he did. That's enough. Do you think he's sorry? I think he's sorry he got caught. Whether he's truly remorseful, I don't know. But it's not my job to figure that out. Oliver was quiet for a moment. I don't hate him either. Not anymore. I'm just glad he can't hurt anyone else. That was real healing. Not forgetting. Not excusing. But releasing the weight that bitterness carries. That evening, Kyle called. He'd been promoted to detective in his new department and was leading reforms in how police misconduct was investigated. We've implemented new oversight procedures, he said. Independent review boards, mandatory body cameras, anonymous complaint systems. It's not perfect, but it's progress. That's because of you. It's because people like you refuse to accept injustice. You didn't have to fight, Tristan. You could have taken a settlement, stayed quiet, moved on. But you didn't. And now dozens of corrupt officers have been removed. Hundreds of victims have gotten justice. How many more are out there, though? How many Graves and Harpers still wearing badges? Too many, but fewer than before. And that's something. After we hung up, I sat on the porch, watching the sunset. Eliza joined me. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How close we came to losing everything. Our son, our family, our faith that justice exists. But we didn't lose it. We fought for it. We did. But I keep wondering, what about the people who can't fight? Who don't have the skills or resources or stubbornness to take on the system? Then people like you fight for them." I looked at her. "I'm not a hero, Eliza. No. You're a father who refused to let his son's abuser walk free. That's enough." 2 months later, I received an invitation to speak at a law enforcement reform conference. The organizer explained that my case had become a blueprint for how civilians could document police misconduct and work with federal authorities. I accepted. Standing before a room of activists, lawyers, and reformed officers, I told Oliver's story. I talked about the system that failed us, the evidence we gathered, the people who risked everything to help. "Justice isn't something that just happens," I said. "It's something we build. Together. One case, one witness, one courageous act at a time. My son walks today because people chose to stand up. And if we all make that choice, we can change everything." The applause was overwhelming. After the speech, a woman approached me. "My brother was killed by a corrupt officer 3 years ago. The case was buried. Your story gives me hope that maybe I can reopen it." "You can. And I'll help however I'm able." She hugged me, sobbing. That night, back home, Oliver and I sat on the porch. He'd grown taller, stronger, more confident than the scared teenager who'd been attacked 2 years ago. "Dad, do you regret any of it? The investigation, the risks you took?" "I regret that it had to happen at all. But no, I don't regret fighting back." "Good. Because I don't either. What happened to me was terrible. But what came from it? The reforms, the arrests, the other victims getting justice, that matters. You matter more." He smiled. "I know. But maybe both can be true." He was right. Trauma and purpose could coexist. Pain and growth could share the same space. Oliver stood, testing his rebuilt legs. "I'm going to bed. Love you, Dad. Love you too, son." As he walked inside, walked, not wheeled, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not because everything was perfect, not because all corruption had been eliminated, but because we'd fought, we'd survived, and we'd made a difference. Sometimes that's all justice is. Not a perfect ending, just the refusal to accept a broken one. Before you go, I need to ask you something important. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I'd love to know where this story reached you. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more intense, emotional, and thrilling revenge stories that'll keep you on the edge. Your support means everything. And here's what I really want to know. What kind of stories do you want to hear next? What themes, betrayals, or revenge plots grip you the most? Tell me in the comments, and I'll bring you exactly the stories you're craving. Until we meet again in the next epic, mind-blowing thriller, take care of yourself and the people you love. Justice is worth fighting for. Story is finished.